Hello, thank you for visiting me. I am John Bosco, as always, but feel free to call me JB as my friends do call me. Anyways, it's nice to see you today. Thank you for trusting me if you're a returning subscriber. Thank you. I appreciate you coming every now and then to check my updates. If this is the first time you are coming to my channel, thank you. Perhaps you were referred to CAM, or maybe you saw this ad through Google search or referral. Thank you. What I would encourage you to do today is to please don't fail to click the subscribe button down there, and so that you would always get updates whenever I release new contents. Please, I also appreciate if you could please click the like button, share it on your social media platform. Perhaps if you want to talk more about what I do and how my content have been very helpful to you, please let me know. You could always email me, and you could also connect with me on my Instagram, and then we can be able to chat more about Scrum and Agile. With that said, let's dive into the content of today, which is very, very, very interesting, I would say, because it is kind of practical. You could apply today's content both for Scrum or any other interview that you might be going for, because this is really something you would see on a day-to-day interview experience. With that said, I'm able to can see on my board to be talking about the strategy to introduce yourself, right? What is the technique for you to rock your first part of the interview process, especially when you are asked to tell me about yourself, which is always, 99% of the times, the first question you'll be asked. As a candidate, you are going for an interview. The part where you are asked to introduce yourself. Some people will ramble in and out there. So we're just using this opportunity to guide, provide some kind of context, perhaps perhaps a trick that you could use in order to organize your thoughts and ideas for an interview. So I am hoping that today's content will be much valuable to you. So sit down and listen. And if you have maybe a question, please put that in the comment section. And you could email me, as you can see on my screen. My email is right on top there. Or you can connect with me on my Instagram, which is right on top there. With that said, let's dive in. All right, so we understand that interviews do take perhaps a hybrid of one or the other. There are basically two interview formats. We have visual interview and we have in-person interview. So whichever one that you have been involved, most of the times, especially post-pandemic, during the COVID-19, most interviews were conducted in a remote setting, even at this point, right? Some interviews are being conducted currently in a remote setting. Some are being conducted in a physical environment. Some are even conducted in a hybrid of in-person and remote. Whichever one it is, today's episode, today's content is an eye-opener of how you can really, really wow your interviewers by letting them know that you have really mastered and studied about what you are going in for. So whether you're going for visual interview or going for physical interview, I believe that today's content is for you. All right. So, going for an interview, there are expectations, right? So the interviewer is expecting you to be able to demonstrate something, and you as the applicant is also expecting to also show and tell, right? So the idea is to show and tell by how much you can be able to demonstrate within that time frame. Now, the first expectation from the recruiter or from the interviewer is for you to speak freely about yourself. There is no kind of constraint. It's an open-ended question. Is tell me about yourself, right? Some people begin with about their social life. I don't know how that might be very helpful for that particular position you're going for. So today I'm kind of highlighting what is the expectation when you are asked such a question. The expectation is that you're going to highlight key information about your skill, your knowledge, and your experience. So you have to speak freely and honestly. The second is the interviewer is also trying to, I mean, as you continue to speak, they are going to assess whether you are a cultural fit for the organization, for team members. Sometimes people might be technical and professional in terms of what they say or what they're, I mean, you remember you've already submitted your resume and the recruiter or the human resource has vetted your resume and then they're like, oh, okay, we think that this person might be a perfect candidate, but let's get to know him or her more. So that is why they have set up that interview, right? So they are trying to assess you to know how you are a cultural and professionally suited for that role. So keeping that in mind, it will help you to organize your thoughts and ideas based on what you're going to talk about for that period. Now, when you are asked about, tell me about yourself, right? There are kind of objectives that you should also keep in mind. Remember that you have also put in your application, your resume. And when you are trying to highlight those key skills and information on that spot at that moment, they are going to watch out for consistency between what you have already submitted and what you are saying at that spot. So you have to keep that in mind and just pick up key information based on your previous work experience, right? So keep that in mind that consistency is a key thing there. Consistency about what you have put in there, your submitted application, what is on your resume. You wouldn't say you have worked on XYZ, for example, you have worked on Google, but and now I mean, based on what is on the resume, you're talking about different. I mean, it's kind of really weird. It could be weird, right? So make sure that you're consistently maintaining what you have on your resume. Now, the other thing, or the other objective is about you have to keep in mind what the job requires. Every job requires a particular skill, a particular expectation. So that is why I'm always encouraging my students and also other Scrum Masters that have been in contact with. If you're going for a new position, for a Scrum Master position, please keep in mind about the job description, the job title, what the job requires. Does the job require you to know and understand the use of Azure DevOps? Does the job require you to know the use of Jira software? Whatever it is, either you're going in for a Scrum Master interview or you're going for any other type of interview, please keep in mind of the job required skills. Again, you wouldn't like to spend about 10 minutes or 5 minutes talking about yourself. Remember, the interview has been time boxed. When you are booked for an interview, you are being given that heads up about how much time the interview would take, right? It's going to take about 45 minutes. It's going to take about an hour. It's going to take about an hour, 30 minutes, 2 hours, depending. You'll be given a heads up in time. So you want to make sure that you are giving your interviewers, again, this is based on applicants now, you're giving your interviewers enough time to finish up with their prepared question. So the housekeeping rule there is to use 2 minutes to 3 minutes, maximum of 3 minutes, to give a summary about yourself. Now, what is this PPF technique? The summary of what PPF, it is an acronym, actually. It means past, present, and future. You have submitted your application, okay? Now your recruiter has contacted you to get to know you, or you have even gone to the major interview, depending. For Scrum Master interviews, there are stage by stage. I mean, you have to go. Sometimes you might go into 3 levels or 4 levels of interviews. So whichever one it is, using the PPF could help you to survive those levels of interview. Whichever, and one funny thing is, if you are going into different levels of interviews, most of the times you'll be asked to introduce yourself. Maybe you have done that with the recruiter, you have done that with the technical team, you have done that with the product manager. You would also do that with the hiring manager. They will always ask you to introduce yourself. So the funny part is, I mean, if you keep saying the same thing, it's going to stick in your mind. So just learn the technique right away. It is about the past, it is about the present, it is about the future. Now, if you're asked to say, or if you're required to reply to the question of, tell me about yourself, start by telling or selectively highlighting relevant past experience. In the past, I have done XYZ. I have helped this organization to do XYZ. And at that point in time, I have done XYZ. You are basically telling a story. A Scrum Master is a storyteller, believe it or not. One of the ways to survive Scrum Masters interviews is the ability to use stories to flesh out and to answer questions. That is the secret there, if I have to be able to say it. So start by saying what you have done in the past. Your previous experience when you started your career as a Scrum Master, highlighting the key and relevant information. Don't read what is on your resume. It gives a red flag on you. Now, when you have talked about your past experience, transition right away to what you are currently doing. The current job you are doing. If you are not working at that point in time, talk about perhaps seminars, trainings you are engaged with. Right? You want to let your interviewers know that you are busy doing something. And use story also to link them together. Remember, you are telling this between 2 to 3 minutes. And you want to make sure that you highlight the key and relevant information. And then you summarize, you cap it up with the future. And that future has to do with why you are interested to work for the organization or to work with the organization. When you are using some connecting phrases and connecting or linking words, you are really, really getting the attention of the interviewers. And by doing that, you are letting them know that, in a way, you are in charge. If I'm going to an interview, I'm always thinking, okay, John Bosco, you are in charge of this interview. However, even though your interviewers have prepared some questions, but my response determines what they are going to ask me. Sometimes they will have a follow-up question based on what I'm telling them on the spot. And if you're talking about why you are interested to work for the organization, the key thing there is please do your research about the organization and what the mission and vision of the organization stand for, and how does it resonate with your personality and your career. And the second thing is about how do you think that you are a perfect fit based on the job description, because every job has kind of description or what the job requires. So you are using 2 to 3 minutes to be able to flesh the meat out from the bone. Believe me, when you be able to structure your interview or your response on tell me about yourself using this PPF technique, you are going to wow your interviewer. It worked. I have tried that in the past. It worked. Okay, so please, this is a caution, a danger zone. Let me put it that way. This is really a danger zone. I have listened to students or even Scrum Masters talking about, having their resumes pulled up on their screen and they'll be reading what is on their resume. You are making it boring. When you are reading a script, you are not giving them the sense that you are actually a perfect candidate for that position. Remember, there are tons and thousands, even hundreds of people who have applied for that particular position. So what do you think you could do to make you distinct, exceptional from the rest of the applicants? Do not read what is on your resume. Highlight the key information and then wow them. That is the thing, wow them. Only the best is good enough. What would you make them to tell you? You know what? We are going to put you to the next level of the interview, even on the spot. All right. I know you might be wondering, okay, what if this technique doesn't work? Please let me know what you're thinking in the comment section. If you think this is a very good technique, also let me know in the comment section. Like, share, and subscribe. I'm also looking forward to have your question. If you think there are things I didn't cover on this technique, or maybe there are some ideas you want to share, please bring it up. We want to build community of practice of Agile and Scrum. And you think that this, again, could help you if you're going for another type of interview, please, you could always modify this. Together, we'll continue to become better every day in what we do. Thank you so much for taking the time to visit me today. I am looking forward to seeing you next time. In the meantime, I hope you stay well. Bye for now.